Hey everybody, it's Phil. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to manage Generation Z in the workplace. By the end of this video, you're going to be ready to lead your Generation Z team members in ways that give you great results from their work and line up with what matters most to them. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the best tactics for managing Gen Z team members, and then we'll talk about why those tactics are effective. Also, I'll give you some specific tips on how to handle it when Gen Zers are consistently asking for accommodations. The first, most important thing when you start answering questions about how to manage any person or group of people is to understand their relationship with employment, because that's the context in which they're making decisions about how to show up at work each day and the performance they're going to give you. A person's relationship with employment, let's talk about that first. That's really the roll-up of everything they want and expect from work and what they want and expect of others at work. So their peers, their leaders. This is really what people want to get in exchange for the work that they give to the jobs they have and the employers they work with. Now for Gen Z, the central orienting point, the North Star of their relationship with employment is safety. We hear this all the time and requests for greater psychological safety, greater physical safety. They're letting us know this constantly. They want to know they can be safe in the future and in the present. And when you really understand that and accept that as the primary lens through which they're going to make decisions about how they show up at work every day, you have a real unlock in how to effectively manage them. Now, I do know that this requirement and constant desire for safety that they have can frustrate a lot of us, especially in the older generations. We don't understand why they need it. We think, oh, I didn't need to feel that safe. But I think it's important for us to look at the situation in which they grew up in. Most Gen Zers, they've never known life without school shootings. They've never known life without workplace shootings. And almost all of them have lived their entire lives after 9/11. So they've lived in the way that that attack changed the entire world. They need safety because they've grown up in a largely unsafe world. And while those of us in older generations, yeah, we experienced unsafe conditions too, it wasn't nearly as pronounced as it's been for them. That's why it's so important to them, and that's why it's important for us to accept that as a starting point for how to relate to them and get the best work out of them. The other key component, as I've said before, is accept that people work to get the life that they want. That's it. That's the ball game. When it comes to really motivating certain behavior from Gen Zers or any generation, people don't primarily work to make their employers successful. They probably care. Most people I meet care deeply about the success of their employer and helping their employer meet its business goals, but that's not what they care about most. That's not what drives them most in their relationship with employment. So as leaders, if we can accept that fact, that's awesome. Because here's the thing, whenever humans are involved, self-interest will always win out. And that's amazing for us as leaders because we can plan on it. And we can count on it, and we can scale on it. So that's the second key tip. After you find out this generation's relationship with employment, accept it. And accept that the best path, the path with the least amount of friction for you to get the results and the performance that you need from Gen Zers on your team is to start by accepting that they're going to love themselves more than they will ever love your business. And that's a good thing. That's not a threat. Okay, let's get specific and let's talk about safety. Let's just tackle it. Gen Zers regularly ask for accommodations in the workplace for psychological safety, financial safety, and physical safety. This shows up in a lot of contexts, but probably the one that is most familiar to most of us is request to work from home or request to work in an office when they don't have the option to work in the office. Now, I know this request comes up a lot because I have a lot of conversations with leaders in older generations, and this complaint comes up constantly. But the fact that it's something that we hear about constantly lets us know that it's really important to them. It's a cornerstone of Gen Zers' relationship with employment. So here's my advice on this. When they ask for an accommodation, give it. If you can give it, if it makes sense for your business, if it fits within laws and policies of where your business operates, give it. Because here's the thing, why not? If it's something you can provide, and you know that it's going to smooth the path to getting their best work out of them, to making them happier, more engaged, to extending their tenure, and helping you avoid the exorbitant cost of replacing them if they leave your business, why wouldn't you do it? It just makes sense. The context for this also, I think, is helpful to really unpack, so I'm going to do that now. Gen Zers, because of mostly the way they've been parented and also the way the educational system is, are used to receiving a pretty high level of accommodation, especially if they've gone through colleges or universities in the United States and other similar countries. Because in the US, educational institutions have a higher threshold of what they're required to give when accommodations are requested by a student. So if a Gen Zer has gone through a typical, Gen Z parenting scenario that is pretty accommodating, I don't say that with any judgment, that's just the way that parenting tends to go during their childhoods, and then they go through the college or university system, they're entering the workforce at roughly 21, 22, 23 years old, maybe a little later if they go to grad school directly after undergrad. And they've got a pretty comfortable level of accommodation up to that point. Now, they're new to the full-time adult-aged workforce, so they may just be taking how they approached accommodations in school and applying it to the workplace. They just may not know that the game has changed a little bit. Now, it's also true that employers, especially privately held companies in the United States, they don't have to provide as many accommodations by law. There's a lot of that we do, but the threshold is lower than an educational institution. So it's just important for us as leaders to understand that when you're dealing with a young professional, whether it's their very first job or maybe their second or third, they still might be in that process, of adjusting from how deeply they were accommodated before entering the workforce and then what's expected of them now. Now, for those who are sitting here like your skin's crawling because you're like, no, I don't want to accommodate them, right? If I do it, they win. This is some good news for you. Accommodation doesn't mean giving in, right? It doesn't mean changing the job expectation. In fact, it's really important when you're trying to more effectively manage Gen Zers that you don't change the job requirement for them. That stays as the fixed baseline, right? If they request an accommodation and you change the job requirement, you're moving the goalpost and it increases confusion. It doesn't increase clarity for you or for them. It also requires that now you have to form a bespoke process to accommodate them. So you're adding operational effort and rigor and cost, which can be avoided. So you keep the requirement fixed, right? It is an employer's privilege and responsibility to set those job requirements, what's expected of you, right? So you keep the requirement clear and consistent. An accommodation also is not a request to change the job requirement. It's a request for some form of help to close the distance between what they're currently capable of and what they need to do to fulfill the purpose of their job. So I hope that kind of soothes, some of that concern or some of that annoyance that you might feel when the requests for accommodation come up. They're not asking to be allowed to not do their job, right? They're asking for help to be able to do their job at 100% or better. Now, if they are asking for their job requirements to be changed, that's a different conversation. That becomes a conversation of maybe there's a different role at our company that's a better fit for you because this is the job requirement. A good example of this is phone calls. I think it's a pretty common talking point that Gen Zers aren't the most comfortable on the phone. Again, you can spend your time trying to fight that and change their decades of human nature. I don't recommend that, probably won't work. Or you can accept it. And if there's a job that requires a high amount of phone presence, Well, they can adjust to it, but if they decide they can't or won't or don't want to put in that effort to become more comfortable on the phone, well, then a job that has a high demand for phone presence is not the right fit for them. You don't change the job requirement. You don't say, okay, well, you won't need to be on the phone. You say, okay, is there another job, another role at our company that is a good fit for what you can and want to do? If the answer is yes, transfer them as quickly as possible, right? Maintain the value of their performance, avoid the cost of replacing them. If there's not another role that fits for them, well, then they'll probably need to move on to a different employer. That's the result of their choice, and that's okay, right? If you don't have a job that's a good fit for them, it was never going to work out anyway. Another example is working from home or return to office. This has been such a hot topic now for such a long time, and it's probably not going away. There are all kinds of reasons why a Gen Zer might want to work from home rather than working in the office. Psychological safety has a lot to do with it, sense of mental health. Many Gen Zers are particularly focused on the environment, on sustainability and climate change, primarily because they're going to be living the longest, much longer than I'm still going to be living on a natural life here on Earth. So they have some real concern about what the Earth is going to be like, and if you tell them to commute 5 days a week or 3 days a week, you're asking them to generate carbon emissions. Regardless of what you personally think about that topic, this is part of what impacts how they show up at work and what managing them is like. That's why it matters to take this seriously and not just dismiss it or judge them for it. But whatever the reasons are for their desire to work from home, here's what I encourage you to do. Prioritize winning business outcomes over winning business arguments. Really ask yourself as a leader, is it actually business essential for this person to do this job in this physical location? If it's not, you may not really want to go down that road, because your job as a leader, my job as a leader of people, we're all in this to drive results through people. And whenever we do things that we know will inflame somebody's anxieties, we're adding friction. And when you add friction, you increase the distance between them and you and the results you have to generate. If you can avoid increasing that distance, why wouldn't you, right? You have to understand that to a lot of Gen Zers, the demand for return to office is nothing more than a battle of wills. And with Gen Zers, they're not going to play along. This is actually one of the best things about Gen Z, one of my favorite things. They do not feel the need to play along with things they don't believe in, right? They are not sentimental in their analysis. And also, they work very much on reciprocity. The number of times I have talked to Gen Zers and heard them say things like, if you're coming at me with resistance, I'm going to give you resistance right back. If you're giving me 2% of your best, I'm going to give you 2% of my best. Regardless of what any of us think about that, that's how they function. So if you're coming to them with a demand that doesn't have a clear business basis, they're going to know. They're going to know that return to office mandate statements like, we believe we do our best work together, that's vibes. That's not data, right? So as leaders, I think it's really important for us to think about not only are we getting what we need from our Gen Z employees, but are we taking actions and making decisions that are unnecessarily increasing the distance between us and them and the results we all need to generate together. Now, another really good tip, and one of my favorites. Teach them what you need them to know. Teach them how you want them to behave at work in terms of professional etiquette. I'll tell a story about this to bring this one to life. Not too long ago, I was talking to a Gen X manager. I'm also Gen X, for disclosure purposes. And so she was relating to me a very frustrating experience with one of her Gen Z team members from the day before. She was saying how this Gen Z team member yawned 5 times on camera during a video call. And just with so much exasperation, she said, oh my gosh, do I have to tell this person not to yawn on a video call? And I looked at her and I said, yes, you do. Do you know how I know that you do? Because she yawned 5 times on a video call. And this woman then said, but shouldn't she already know not to do that? And whenever you hear the word should, you should really kind of perk up. And I said, well, tell me, why should she already know this? And this woman went on to explain, well, she went to college. Don't they teach professional etiquette in college? You know, she has a business administration degree. And also, this isn't her first job. This is her second job out of college. So wouldn't one of her previous leaders trained her on this? And I said, well, I don't know. When you went to her and asked her if she had ever been taught how to behave the way you want her to behave, what did she say? And the woman's mouth fell open because she didn't ask. And so this is what I want us to know here. We make a lot of assumptions about the knowledge and the behavior that Gen Zers come into the workplace with. Or we really do this to people of any age or group. But for Gen Zers specifically, it is important to know that in most colleges and university programs, professional etiquette is not taught. The other thing is that in most work situations, it's not taught because there's some level of assumption that you're coming in already knowing it. The other thing is there's a difference between general professional etiquette and process-specific behavior at your workplace. Now, somebody has no way of knowing specifically what your process behavior expectations are. You have to tell them, right? What I'm really getting to here is that we don't want to make a mistake of approaching a training issue as a performance issue or a compliance issue. Because when you do that, you basically punish somebody for not knowing something they haven't been taught. And you take them down a road of really limiting their opportunities and limiting the performance you're going to get from them and increasing their likelihood of disengaging, right? You lead them down that road. So again, it's just increasing the distance between you and what you need to accomplish. There's no logic to it. So that's what I really wanted to say, is that don't lead on assumption with Gen Zers when it comes to behavior and etiquette. Teach them what you need them to know. And then once you know they understand the expectation, if they consistently fail to meet it, you can go down a performance response path. I'm so glad we got to talk about this today. It's a really important topic. And if you're intrigued and you want to know more, I've got more for you. You'll see a link down here at the bottom of the screen. You can click on it. It's going to take you to my video on how to manage a multi-generational workforce. So basically, we're going to take the things we talked about with Gen Z and apply it to the whole multi-generational workforce. There's a lot of really fantastic tips and insights in there that's going to help you become a more effective leader and generate happier people and generate greater business results. See you there.